everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It's
Too
JD.
many
It's
cooks.
always
Too many
JD. Oh
cooks.
no.
Too many cooks.
Yep. Well, no spoilers. That's what we're watching today. We watched.
Well, it was in the
Too
title of the episode.
Many
If they
Cooks.
didn't know, man, they're in trouble.
Maybe they didn't click. Maybe they thought we were just going to talk about like too many people being collaborative on a project and how to avoid that. Too many cooks. This is the section of Spooktober where we decided to do Adult Swim, and one of them is Too Many Cooks. Too Many Cooks. The short film that caused a mental breakdown. So let's get into it, shall we?
I would
JD,
like
do we have any housekeeping we have to take care
I
of?
would. Yes, there is some housekeeping that needs to be done. I would
Oh,
like
no.
to be very clear that the moment Michelle mentioned to me the fact that this movie had been involved in a very difficult time in her life, I absolutely gave her the option to not do this episode. And now here
Yep.
we are. Cause
For the record, JD told me I could veto it, but nope. This is what I live for.
No, she would rather put herself through this hell so then she could blame it on me and throw me under the bus.
I know.
It's
no,
pretty
I do blame
great,
it on you.
honestly.
I blame
I have
it on
to-
me. It's
Look,
entirely.
I'm angry that it was at my expense, but I have to admire your skill. Game recognized game, you know what I mean?
I think if anything, I'm torturing myself. This is what I do. If you haven't tuned in before, usually we watch Shudder. Today we watched Nightmare shorts from Adult Swim.
Yeah.
So this is our third and our last one, but also the one that had the biggest effect on me. There is not going to be a spoiler-free section. This is going to be spoiler. What's the opposite of free? Spoiler expensive. This is going to be the spoiler expensive part of this. If you haven't seen Too Many Cooks, go watch it. Google it,
Spoiler
YouTube
wealthy.
it, whatever you got to do.
A wealth of spoilers.
If you look up
a
Too Many
fortune
Cooks,
of spoilers.
you will see it. Quick synopsis in case you haven't seen Too Many
Good
Cooks.
luck.
It is the intro of a 90s show, except it just keeps going and going and going. And then it becomes other intros to other 90s sitcoms. And there's a sci-fi one, and there's a White House one, and there's like the superhero one where she's just spinning for a very long time. There's also a guy named Bill who's murdering people, and now it's getting very meta. And the people are now the credits, and they're screaming below the letters as they're going about their lives. And then there's like 5 seconds of an actual sitcom, and then the end credits roll.
Yeah. It's look, guys, this more than anything, it does have some gory moments. And some really bizarre shit. There are a couple of scenes that are specifically referencing horror movie tropes. But honestly, if there's any of these that you haven't seen that I would absolutely recommend you check out, it would have to be this one. This fucking movie does more things in 11 minutes than I was ever prepared for. Like Michelle said, it starts out as like a Full House 90s sitcom. It transitions into like a Law and Order kind of thing at one point. There's the G.I. Joe bit. That woman spinning around is a direct reference to the old Wonder Woman show with Linda Hamilton, or Linda Carter rather, excuse me. Linda Hamilton is from Terminator. This short is fucking chaos incarnate. Holy shit. Also, by the way, did you say that guy with the machete's name is Bill?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure his name is Broth, Michelle.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure
well,
his
I
name
would
is
go
Broth.
look at the cast.
Like,
but
because you
there's
remember
so
when they go
fucking
into the sci-fi one that's kind of like a Battlestar Galactica looking thing. They talk about how they're called like the space people, like the soldiers are cooks, and it's like an acronym. And then their enemy is Broth, Broth.
He's just the killer on IMDb. So
Oh,
maybe he has a couple names. I could've
That's
swore he was
fair.
Bill.
I could have swore he was.
Well, the actor's name is William Tokarski, so maybe that's where I got Bill from.
That could be, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm seeing that here. I don't see him referred to specifically as Broth. That may be something that I picked up anecdotally along the way. So
Or it's just another thing they threw in there.
right. I don't even really know how to talk about this. It is
Oh, I got stuff. I
okay.
got things to say.
Then you go right ahead, Michelle.
Okay.
I
I
loved this, by the way. That's the only thing. I don't know what to say except this is glorious chaos. I wish I had been there to actually watch this as it happened the first time. They just dropped this on an unsuspecting public at like 3 o'clock in the morning one night, and I wish I had been there to experience it. This is fucking insanity in the best way, and other than that, I don't have any idea how to talk about it.
Well, I just want to say why it caused a mental breakdown for me 9 years ago. It showed up at a very inopportune time. In 2008, I was in a car accident and I broke my brain. My chair, seat, whatever, flew forward and the seatbelt was attached to that, so I was buckled in, but I still broke a windshield open with my face and had to get jaws of life out. While I was passed out because I was knocked unconscious, I had several dreams, I guess, of myself living alternate realities. So when I came to and I did not remember who I was, but I did remember all these past lives that I had lived while knocked out unconscious after this car accident. That was a traumatic moment for me as things started coming back and I tried to remember like what is reality for 3 weeks. If I slept when I woke up, it was very much a 51st dates situation where I would forget things and it would take me a while to catch on to like, oh yeah, this is my reality. Okay, good. I developed petit mal seizures and I would sometimes black out and people would have to remind me what was going on. I hated driving because sometimes I would black out while driving and just forget where I was going and I would have to pull over to the side. So awful, awful time. Right before Too Many Cooks came out, I had this is so fucking stupid. At the dentist, I had a bad reaction to Novocaine and nitrous oxide. Don't know what happened. It knocked me out. I hallucinated. I have never been a drug person. I am fine with other
I
people
was,
doing it.
I
Oh,
was,
JD.
I don't mean to interrupt, Michelle, but I know
Yep.
exactly what the fuck happened. You took Novocaine and fucking laughing gas all at the same time. That's what happened.
Yeah. No, I'd never done any type of thing that would make me hallucinate. But I got knocked out and I had the worst drug trip of my life and the only drug trip of my life. And I had nothing to reference that to because none of my friends at the time had ever had any sort of drug trip. So they couldn't tell me what was going on. So I was convinced that the God that had sent me back from the car accident and gave me another life to live was mad at me. I had a panic attack that lasted basically 3 weeks. Luckily, I got into therapy, I got medication, everything got better because I started realizing, oh, that's what drugs can do. But because it happened at the dentist office, I was like, no, that was a sign. Something awful was happening. And now it's like kind of embarrassing to talk about, but at the time, I was traumatized. So I have developed this huge fear that everything I'm living is a lie, that I am living in a simulation, or that someday I will wake up from this reality and be in another reality because I have experienced that after my 2008 really bad car accident, where I woke up convinced I had been living a different reality up to that moment and not remembering who I am. So I have this huge fear that it will happen again. So, right after my terrible dentist drug trip, I was at a get together with some friends and they said, you have to check out this thing called Too Many Cooks. And it just kept going and I disassociated so hard. The part where these people are trapped, not moving as a man is moving towards them to murder them, and then it becomes slowly like they're running between like the sets and other people are frozen in time. I was like, oh my God, is this what's happening to me? I had this spiral, this terrible spiral of like, is this the reality I'm going to wake up to? Is this the message that's being sent to me from the God I angered when I was at the dentist? It was horrifying. I had a complete panic attack. I was already getting over the 3-week long dentist panic attack when this second panic attack happened. It was a very dark time in my life, and my friends, God love them all, thought it was hilarious to put on Too Many Cooks randomly when they were hanging out with me. So I would be sitting in another room and hear, "It takes a lot to make a stew." And I'd be like, "No." And they'd just be laughing. And I'm like, "I will be in another room until this is done." And then they would pause it and I'd come out of the room and they'd continue playing it. That was a really good time. I have now gone through a lot of exposure therapy with Too Many Cooks. I watched it a lot so that it no longer bothered me in any way that it should not bother people. We actually watched it at a convention together last year. I took a Xanax and we put it on after our spooky movie section was over. And then we watched Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which would have also been a good one to include in our Spooktober shorts, because the one where he walks out and then he's looking at the crew and realizes like this entire thing has been a film, that also horribly triggered me. Anything that makes me question my own reality is like the scariest thing to me. And I don't talk about it often because I also feel like I shouldn't talk about this. I shouldn't tell people like one of my biggest weaknesses, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I can tell people like I was super messed up for a while because my brain broke. Like it broke. I don't have any other thing to say about it. Like I had a very hard time figuring out who I was again. And now anytime I'm reminded like, hey, remember those other lives you lived? I'm like, yep, still very vividly and still very bizarre. Brains are very, very weird things. I'm just going to hope that the reality I live in right now is the correct one, because I love my dog and my 4 cats, and I would hate to lose them and wake up someplace else. If I still have the dog and the 4 cats, then I guess maybe the husband, then I'm fine.
That's an intense fucking story.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
why I wasn't opposed to doing this one, because like
hey guys.
I don't talk about it.
Uh, thank God. A lot of things have changed in recent years. But in case you weren't sure, if your friends tell you that something legitimately traumatizes them, it's not funny to torment them with it. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I say this admitting full well to having been that person on more than one occasion, and the same thing being done back to me. Guys, don't do that.
Yep.
Holy shit. Yeah, I can see
No,
why you
it's
might
definitely
have...
something. Yeah, 9 years ago, it would have been hilarious to torment your friends.
Oh,
I feel like
God.
now those same friends, they still think it's funny to put on Too Many Cooks, but I'm not as affected by it now.
Right.
So and like send me memes and stuff, and now I can like kind of laugh along with them. But back then it was horribly, horribly traumatizing. And but that was also the norm just 9 years ago, to be like, oh, this causes a panic attack. Let's
Mm-hmm.
make them experience a panic attack
Oh,
every
yeah.
time we hang out with them.
Yeah,
Whew.
thank God the world is changing, because it's definitely for the better. No judgments here. Just keep that in mind, guys. Come on. But no,
Yeah. Please do not start saying me Too Many Cooks. I am desensitized to it, which is why I'm able to talk about
right.
it. Because if this had been 9 years ago, I never talked about this when I was doing stand-up comedy or anything, because we lived in a world where people would do that to
Oh
me.
yeah,
And
this would
I wouldn't have
especially
been able to
knowing.
handle it 9 years
Look,
ago. Yeah.
having an inside close personal awareness of the Fargo Moorhead comedy scene at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This would have been used to torment you for years going forward.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yep. And now I'm definitely like way more healed. And even like the idea of living in a simulation isn't like well, it's still like my biggest fear, I guess you could say. But now it's like, oh, that's an interesting concept and
Okay.
one that I like to think about and that I hope isn't real. But like that's why I'm comfortable talking about it now. Like if I
Sure.
see that as a thing in a movie, it doesn't set me off like it did when I was recovering from terrible brain injury.
Sure. With all of that in mind, Michelle,
Oh,
let me ask you this. This is
yeah.
the big interesting question that's really floating around for me.
Yeah.
After all of that unfortunate personal association with your experience, are there any specific things about this film that you were, or at least now are, able to enjoy? Any specific things that are good moments, or things that you thought were well done here?
Yeah. I honestly, when we get to the scoring section, this is getting a 5 for me. It was
Oh,
not an
nice.
enjoyable time for me
I think you just
when
gave it a 5, and so did I. 5s both ways.
yeah, perfect. Yeah, because this is something that now I can appreciate it and it doesn't trigger me like it used to. And it's something that I don't want to watch for fun because I never know, like, is this going to be a bad mental health day and this is the thing that's going to cause my stupid spiral and my brain's going to be mad at me. So like I never want to like really tempt it, but there's so much about this that I think if I hadn't been in such a dark, vulnerable spot. And this just happened to be the thing that set me off when I was already in a bad, bad mental place. I think I would have really enjoyed it in the way that everybody else did. I think this would have made me laugh so hard when it just kept continuing. And I do remember enjoying it for a little bit before it started making me panic. So there's so much I do like kind of this dumb humor type of stuff. Also, Casper Kelly, writer director of this, has done some things that I fucking love. Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell is one of my current favorite TV shows. Squidbillies, and Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Harvey Birdman and Attorney at Law. These are all Casper Kelly series.
Yeah.
And I love his other work.
He
So
also
I know
did the Adult Swim Yule log that became
Yes.
the horror feature
Oh, I
film
completely
The
forgot.
Fireplace, which, as I recall, I
Exactly.
didn't go back and reread our discussion of it from the Ghoul blog on the We Watch Shudder website. Be sure to check that out, guys. But as memory serves, there were things about it that I really, really enjoyed. There were some things about it that didn't quite work for me. But yeah, this is what he does that I find so fascinating, just because it's the kind of thing I could never do because it requires juggling so many lines of attention. But he layers so many different things on top of each other and can take 6 or 7 different threads and weave them all through each other and maintain them all really like there is I've seen Too Many Cooks probably 20, 30 times. God, I don't even know. I just today watched it again before we sat down to record this, and I'm still either finding things that I never saw before or things that I at least saw at one point and then completely forgot. The killer shows up within like the first 30 seconds of this movie. He's not even fully
he's in every scene.
He's not fully on screen though, and that's why I never saw him there until today. He looks like a curtain in the corner on the side of the shot. And then I realized, fuck, that's the sweater and jacket that dude's been wearing, and there's a hand down there. It's not like a dangly thing. He's fucking everywhere. It's so dense and wild and weird, and god damn, I love it. It's so good.
I really hope someday, we're probably past the point where if this existed, it would be out already. But I would love a making of Too Many Cooks.
For
with,
sure.
like how this was plotted out, how the cast had to prepare for all these different things, how they made sure that they were like keeping their story consistent and all the throwbacks made sense.
I would love to just see a picture of the full storyboard layout for this thing. Show me their scene by scene note card chart on the fucking bulletin board. It's gotta be madness.
It's like one of those murder boards with all the
Yeah.
strings going back and forth
Yeah.
between things where they're like, Snarf's in this part, so we have to make sure that he's got this
Excuse
thing
me.
to hint at
Excuse
this
me.
thing.
That's Smarf with an M, not Snarf with an
Oh.
N. To be is definitely not the copyright owned character from that other property that we won't name.
He-Man? Is Snarf? Is Snarf
I
He-Man?
think Snarf, I
truly
believe,
don't
was
remember.
Thundercats.
Thundercats.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I pictured the guy, but he looked like He-Man. But don't they all look like He-Man in the 80s?
Get
Big
the
muscle
fuck
guy.
out of here. Don't they all look like
Big muscle
He-Man in
guy.
the 80s? I will.
What doesn't look like He-Man in the 80s? Have you seen stuff from the 80s?
Thundercats doesn't. Silverhawks doesn't. Teenage Mutant Ninja
Freddy
Turtles
Krueger
doesn't.
looks just like He-Man. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just like He-Man. Transformers, just like He-Man. I think my brain's still broken now that I think about it.
It may well be.
Maybe I need to go back to my neurologist.
Saying things like Thundercats is just like He-Man makes me... Have you ever seen a Voltron cartoon, Michelle?
No.
Jesus.
That's one of the Transformers, right?
Well, no, it's the one with the lion robots that turn into... Oh, for fuck's sake.
Have you seen Gummy Bears? No, that's a good
the Gummy Bear
animated
juice, Gummy
show.
Bears bouncing here and
Jumping
there and
everywhere. Great fucking
adventures
show.
beyond compare. I know all about
That
the
was one
fucking
of the
Gummy
things I
Bear
would-
juice.
That was one of the things I put on to recover from when I was having panic attacks about too many cooks.
Oh,
That
sweet.
and the Wiggles.
That was a good.
I put on the Wiggles a lot. Like, apparently anti too many cooks is the Wiggles.
That was a good
Mashed
full
banana,
circle how
mashed
you did that,
banana.
Michelle. I appreciate that. Well done.
Thanks. Yeah.
Michelle,
Yeah,
I just
no,
realized that Brandon Christensen, the director of The Puppet Man, replied to our tweet about that movie with some thoughts that I need to go and read. So we should probably wrap this up.
Oh, no.
Say goodnight, Michelle.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Please don't be mad at me, Brandon.
No, it's good.
Christensen.
It's real
night,
good,
Michelle.
actually. I got a little...
Okay.
God damn it. I should have done this a different way. No, I promise. He's just clarifying some things in the plot regarding it, but he was very... let's just go read it together. You guys can go read it, too. It's out there on Twitter. You can see what Brandon Christensen had to say. Michelle gets so worried when people whose movies we have talked about listen
Especially
to
when I
us
gave a
talk
1.5.
about their movies, especially when I feel you did a very solid job of defending why the movie didn't work for you and not
God.
not claiming it was terrible or bad or any of that.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, now that I've made Michelle the most anxious she's ever been since Too Many Cooks.
Too many cooks.
Say good
Plus
night,
a man
Michelle.
oh, God. Good night, Michelle.
We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media, your home for all of today's Rat Factoryist podcasts. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests of We Watch Shudder are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Rat Factory Media. But wait, aren't Rat Factory Media and We Watch Shudder the same people? Shut your cake hole, Charlie. Nobody asked you. We Watch Shudder is available free on all major podcast platforms, and the easiest way to support We Watch Shudder is also free. Just leave a rating and review on your platform of choice. Merge your consciousness with ours on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're at We Watch Shudder on all those social media platforms. Or find us the old-fashioned way, on the web at WeWatchShudder.com or by email at mail@WeWatchShudder.com. Heck, you can even leave us a voicemail at 701-566-9510. No, seriously, 701-566-9510. Try it if you dare.